2024, we are going to achieve the 5 trillion economy. Although this report was prepared before the COVID. Definitely, COVID has impacted the economy. It might have left some impact, and definitely the 2024 may go to 2025 or 2026. But the reports or the critics, they are still saying that it is not even possible up to 2028, or it can go up to 2030. Now, being a very seasoned banker, a financial person yourself, economic, you know very well, we would like to know your views on India 5 trillion economy by 2024. Mr. Ramnath Pradeep, please.
Good morning, Mr. Goel, my friend Dr. Narendra and Mrs. Vinita ji. I'm meeting for the first time. So it's a great pleasure, Mr. Goel, inviting us for this particular program. And earlier also, I think I had occasion to discuss on this issue on your channel or some other channel also. I had occasion to discuss. I'm of the view that we will be able to achieve, India will be able to achieve 5 trillion economy by 2024-25. There is some disconnect, because whether it is 24, because when Mr. Modi has spoken, or Honorable Prime Minister has spoken at that time, probably he took into account 24, maybe December 24, maybe the financial year of, and financial year is in India is 24-25. So leave apart from that, but I am very optimistic, and whatever the steps have been taken even after COVID, which give the confidence that India will be able to achieve 5 trillion economy by 2025, 2024, 2025. Why I'm saying is because during the COVID period, whatever the steps have been taken, like Atmanirbhar Bharat is one of the steps which has been taken, and during that particular time, lot of efforts have been made to stimulate the economy by almost doubling the economy in terms of various sectors. And I tell you, when the 5 trillion economy was, there are 3 factors which were majorly considered that this will push the economy to the 5 trillion economy. One was the infrastructure, services sector was 3%, infrastructure was 1%, and agriculture sector was taken as a 1%. Now, if you take in these area of 3 major portion, I think Modi government has taken all steps which are required even after pandemic to sustain this growth and reach to the desired 5 trillion economy by 2024-25. Why the push which has been after pandemic, though pandemic has created a lot of vacuum, but at the same time, steps taken during that particular time, and now push is being given by the government by action, other things, except that recent, the setback or whatever you call this, agriculture reform in terms of the 3 laws which has been withdrawn. But those are all a temporary setback. Probably the government will come out with a new set of laws where it will push the agriculture sector. And I'm of the view that we will be able to achieve 5 trillion economy by 2024. Not only that, because if you see the growth rate which is coming up, what is reported by various organizations who deal with the economy, is that we are already having more than 7.5%, the GDP now. This is what projected. Some of the organization has projected even more. Some of the organization has gone to project even Indian economy will grow 21, 22, 22, 23 by around more than 10%. So I am very optimistic and confident that India growth and GDP will reach to the level of 5 trillion economy by 24-25. And also there is also possibility that we may achieve another milestone of 10 trillion economy by 2030. So I am of the view, you already highlighted what the Modi government has done. Various steps have been taken in terms of pushing the reforms, pushing various steps. today, if you see the stock market, unicorn entrepreneur which are coming up, how they are being developed, the push for Make in India, Startup India, all these steps which has been taken by the government is pushing towards more economy, resilience economy, develop economy, and we will be able to achieve all those, the laid down economic agenda to reach the 5 trillion economy by 2020. So this is, I am of the firm view that we will achieve. There is no doubt about it. This is, people have their own perception, but the steps which are being taken one by one, including the ease of India, doing business India, many other things which has been taken into account, I'm sure, I'm confident that we will be able to achieve 5 trillion economy by 2024-25. This is my firm view, and I hope that my other panelists will be able to contribute towards this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramnath Pradeep, for giving your very, very strong views in support of that 5 trillion economy by 2024 or 2024-25, the financial year. He says it is achievable and it is going to be achieved. And he has given the reasons. He says even the COVID might have impacted, but post-COVID, the economy, how it bounced, the indications are very clear. And he has also mentioned that the projection of the GDPs by a few of the agencies are that if it is even about 10% now. So as Mr. Rangarajan's reservation was that you require 9% every year. He says, although 7 point some percentage is already there, but few are predicting for 10%. So he says it will be, although there is a setback of farms laws, which has been now taken back. But he says he will definitely, Mr. Modi will definitely come out with some other forms of laws, which will definitely give a boost to the agriculture sector also. So it is, according to him, it is achievable. There is no doubt about it. And he is very, very confident. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramnath Pradeep,
Thank you, sir,
for showing so much confidence in our economy. This is a very positive sign. But let's hear the views of the other panelists also. So I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Dr. M. Narendra. Dr. M. Narendra is the former chairman and managing director of Indian Overseas Bank. Dr. M. Narendra started his banking career when he joined Corporation Bank as a trainee officer in January 1975. In Corporation Bank, his hard work and dedication earned him the recognition of being a member of Chairman's Club for 8 years in a row and 18 more years. He joined Bank of India as executive director in November 2008. While he was with the Bank of India, the bank won many awards. Dr. M. Narendra joined Indian Overseas Bank as the chairman and managing director on 1st November 2010 and retired on superannuation on 31st July 2014. Some of the prominent awards he won for Indian Overseas Bank are National Award for Excellence in MSc Lending for the year 2010-11, National Award for Excellence in MSc Lending for 2011-12, National Award for Outstanding Performance in Implementation of PMEGP in South Zone for 2011-12, the Sunday Standard Best Bankers Award 2013, IBA Banking Technology Award 2012-13, Best Use of Business Intelligence, National Award for Effective Implementation of PMEGP in South Zone for 2012-13. During his tenure, IOB stood number 1 in sale of LIC products of Life Insurance Corporation of India for 3 consecutive years. He is currently associated as director with Mahindra Rural Housing Finance Limited, Mahindra First Choice Wheels Limited, Adani Enterprises Limited, Vishwa Chemicals Limited, Kesar Enterprises Limited, Vanprastha Ashram, and Man Industries India Limited. Welcome, Dr. M. Narendra on our show. And we are very fortunate that we have 2 former chairmen come managing directors of very, very reputed banks, and both have turned around their banks and won so many awards, both of them. So viewers, this shows the dedication, what the bankers like Mr. Ramnath Pradeep and what like Dr. M. Narendra has shown during their career or during their services in the banks. Now, Dr. M. Narendra, you have heard what Mr. Ramnath Pradeep has said. And he is very optimistic. He says, no, I am very, very clear. We are going to have this 2024 or 2024-25 financial year, the 5 trillion economy, which he says is easily achievable due to the past work done by the Modi government, as well as the way it was rebounded after the COVID. And he says, although there is setback, but he says now everything is under control and the government will definitely get this target. We would like to know your views on India 5 trillion economy by 2024. Dr. M. Narendra, please.
Yeah, good morning to all of you, and I'm grateful to Lal Goel, and also I'm recognizing our Ramnath Pradeep and Vinita Madam in this particular webinar today. One thing, sir, that you have covered quite a lot, and Ramnath also, that we are in a confident note. That is the one after the COVID, and that too the second dose of second COVID, and also that the lockdown and the supply chain getting affected, all that, that has really that time got a setback. But the way in which our Indian government under the Modi Saab and all of us together managed the COVID and also ensured maximum dose of first dose to more than 100 crores already, and now must have again exceeded 110 crores. And the number of cases also coming down, and the second dose is on the offing, and quite a lot of them already taken, and we are now talking of the third booster. So in view of that, the economic activity has recovered much faster than what we have thought. So all the visible signs of recovery, and it is expected that September Indian GDP growth will be from the first quarter of 20.1, now it may be 8%, and this year it may be nearing 9.6 to 9.8, and Reserve Bank has expected that 9.5. They may later revise it upwards. It looks like that. The other macroeconomic factors, like India has more than 640 plus US dollar billion of forex reserves, which can take care of the at least 14 to 18 months of imports. The other side is inflation. Core inflation is still slight high, but due to the recent reduction in the petrol price by means reducing the taxes, and as well as the good rabi season likely to come, and kharif crop already good, and a good monsoon also, the inflation per se will be within the 2% up and down of the Reserve Bank target of 4 plus 2. So that if it's the case, the other side is now whether the consumption has started back, and if the consumerism is increasing, which has been witnessed during this festival season, and it is continuing up to Christmas, and in the last quarter normally it is again in the high. So if the consumerism coming back, that will enhance already the manufacturing PMI is more than 56%, and particularly service sector, which was lagging behind, that has also crossed 58.9. So both the sector wise, and agriculture has been giving positive growth, and last year it gave more than nearly around 4%, and this year also. So in view of that, this year when we achieve the positive of 9.6, 10% growth, which was earlier estimated around 12.5%, but for the COVID second time coming, and the fact that now if the capacity utilization is coming to 70 to 80%, naturally the new investment will start taking place. And already, as you rightly said, in the infrastructure, already the investments are coming, and the corporates are also thinking of capacity addition. They are also acquiring globally and domestically new ventures where they can add more capacity. And the areas like electrical vehicles, there is a lot of investments coming. Electronics, there are a lot of investments coming. Textile is another area, a lot of investments have been coming. Pharmaceuticals also is one of the very important area, and other capital goods, and that also is having a lot of investment. So India attracted more than 80 billion US dollar of investment, and the only thing is some Deloitte has made a that all those FDI is not going towards capital formation. So we need more capital formation FDI, and it is expected that in the next 5 years, India will be having 120 billion US dollar to 160 billion US dollars. So that will again give a boost. And the scheme like PLI of and manufacturing hubs, and India making a manufacturing zone for the neighboring countries, and they attracting the multinational to India in the electronics, mobile, and the PLI 13 champion sectors, that will again enhance the overall industrial production. And India is also adopting the 4 model of what you call the latest model of manufacturing to improve the productivity. So on all these macroeconomic factors, and even the unemployment has been brought down. Now it is hardly maybe 6.8 from a level of 10 to 11%. And actually the labor force, even in the rural areas, have been starting getting fully utilized. And of course, under the NREGA scheme, the government has already spent 70,000 crores, and they are likely to allocate another 25,000 crores. Other side, the fiscal policy, the government has been able to get most the direct tax collection and indirect tax collection as in the buoyancy, and their utilization of fiscal deficit is not more than 35 to 40% of the budgeted for the current half year like that. So this is expected that even though they may utilize the fiscal deficit up to 6.5 or 6.8, which was projected, the most of the amount also, whatever they are getting out of this additional income, they would like to spend more allocation to rural employment, as well as the and subsidies for fertilizers, and ensure that the poverty level also will get improved. The per capita income will go up, because it is sometime India's per capita income has been much even below than even the neighboring country like Bangladesh. So that was unfortunate, but currently that efforts are being made. So even though whether by a year or so we would exceed, because 2024-25 is the endeavor, and all these positive factors, and the buoyancy in the capital market, where a lot of IPO mop-up has been taken place, and the monies are all utilized in investment, and retail investors are participating in the IPO market, and the new age technology firms are making a big IPO mop-up. Of course, there is some factor that they should have been very reasonable in their IPO price, which has been very high, and some of them have become lesser after the initial listing. So the fact is that the digitalization and the, as you rightly said, the Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana and the Aadhaar and mobile, the jam which has been given, and connecting all the panchayat and all the areas through digital connectivity, that itself will give 1 to 1.5% boost to the GDP. And one more thing is, of course, the credit to GDP. India is now hovering around 55, 56%. Globally, it is more than 100, 135%. So the credit percent, which we are in the, when the India was growing at the age of a rate of 9.5%, the credit was around 20, 25%. But now we cannot definitely go to that level. But if it is can even go up to 15%, and the credit to GDP will enhance, naturally our again the growth will take place. Similarly, the tax to GDP, which is around 10%, needs to be taken to 15%. One more thing is, after the supply chain and all that, global economy has started moving up, and India's exports have almost now reaching near the level of 400 billion US dollars for the current year, and some people say it may go up to 500 US dollar billion India. Other side, imports are also enhanced. Of course, the oil is the major importer, and then the gold, then gem and jewelry and all other things. But the import substitution efforts done by the government under Modi's, that Atmanirbhar Bharat, that will slowly pick up, so that our import per se will be moderated, and imports for the purpose of export is a welcome sign. So the contribution of exports to GDP, which is around maybe around 18%, needs to be go to 25%. Similarly, the SME, which is contributing to 40% of the GDP, should go up to 50%, and 50 to 60% of exports to 75%. So in that way, there is a need for focusing on all these areas, and the whole India is it is actually really surprising that how India could come back to the growth, and everybody has now feeling that we are confident we will reach 5 trillion economy, maybe 2024-25 or maybe 1 year later. But we are fully poised for another around 7 to 8 billion trillion US dollar economy by 2030. And just if you have time permits, there is one data which I can tell you, that globally competitive manufacturing hub in India that can contribute US dollar 455 billion. This is one estimation done by a study. Similarly, globally 17 and digital service hubs that can contribute US dollar 285 billion. High value agriculture ecosystem, even though the current laws have been taken back, there is definitely agriculture will be given by boost by the private sector as well as the government, that can give US dollar 145 billion dollar. Healthcare systems for India and the world will can give 55 billion US dollars, and high value tourism another 50 billion US dollars. Total US dollar 990 billion dollars. And what are the efficiency engineers for India's growth and competitiveness? One is next generation financial services, which is already picking up, like fintech, neobanks, and e-commerce, all that. 335 US dollar billion. Automation of work and industry 4, that is 275 US dollar billion. Efficient mining and mineral, actually everybody is calling it, we have to utilize our natural resources efficiently. 110 US dollar billion. High efficiency power distribution and logistics. You know that there is a lot of leakage that can save around or get 80 billion US dollars. And e-governance for the future 65 US dollar billion. Total around 865 US dollar billion. So in both the cases, so the coming ESG itself can contribute. That is your what you call environment, social, and governance. And the other side, the climate change and alternative energy, which our government under the ministry, our finance, our prime minister has taken, that we will be well within the climate target by 2030, and that itself will contribute positively another 30 billion US dollars of our Indian economy. So in overall, we can say that 2024-25, we are well within 5 trillion. But if at all 1 year extended, on an average growth of 8.5%, and nearing to 9%, and parallelly ensuring equity and what you call the poverty upliftment, with which is already happening, that India will be able to achieve around 7 to 8 trillion US dollar economy by 2030. Sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra, for giving your views. And Dr. Narendra is also very, very positive. He says, if it will not reach on 2024-25, it may 1 year extended, but definitely by 2026, the economy will be 5 trillion US dollars. But he has given all the data, and he says still right now also the growth is going up like anything. He also said that everyone was surprised, rather shocked to see the growth of India post-COVID, how they have come out with that shock. As well as he has given all the details of the IPOs, although unfortunately recent one of the biggest IPO of Indian history bombed. Bombed means that it was oversubscribed, but the rate afterwards, although today it is going up slightly, but it has given a very big shock to the Indian economy, especially the investors. But he says that is fine, because one has to be careful about the pricing of the IPO. But he also mentioned that the way the government is putting, whether it's Atmanirbhar Bharat or whether it is about the vaccine nation in India, more than 100 crores, and giving the all inputs even for MSME sector, the big manufacturing hubs. So according to Dr. Narendra, there is no problem for getting 5 trillion, and he is expecting about 7 to 8 trillion economy by 2030. Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Miss Vinita Hariharan. Miss Vinita Hariharan is the national level public policy expert. She is the Chief of Programs, Ministry of MSME, Government of India. Miss Vinita has had an illustrious academic journey and an exemplary professional and public life, an alumnus of the prestigious School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, she worked for a decade in leading private and public sectors of the country. At this juncture, driven by the aim of dawn by the head of a decision maker from an implementer, she pursued her mid-career master in public administration from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore, on a scholarship from the Singapore government. This proved to be a game changer as she gained wide international perspective in policy making. Post this, she has been with various multilateral and bilateral agencies with the Government of India, where she designed national policies and led the implementation of several flagship programs of Government of India in the domains of rural, urban, and livelihoods. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, formalization of micro enterprises being some of the key flagship programs designed by her. She is currently with the Ministry of MSME as chief of the programs handling externally aided missions. Ms. Vinita is a public speaker and a thought leader in diverse issues of nation building. She is on the board of studies of leading global institutes and a mentor to social foundations that work towards empowering women and the girl child. Ms. Vinita was recently given the Women of Excellence Award from the Indian Achievers Forum for her outstanding contribution to the field despite all hurdles. Welcome, Ms. Vinita Hariharan on our show. Ms. Vinita, you are in the government, you are looking after the programs of the Ministry of MSME, and you are quite associated, and you know how the COVID has impacted, and at that time there was so much hue and cry even from the MSME sector also. But the way, according to Mr. Ramnath Pradeep as well as Dr. Narendra, the economy has rebounded post-COVID, which was quite unexpected. It was not that much expected. It was expected that the economy will rebound, but not the way it has rebounded. We would like to know your views on India 5 trillion economy by 2024. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, please.
Namaste, Lalgulji and all my fellow panelists. It's indeed an honor to be here again on your show and to talk about the very relevant topic of the $5 trillion economy. So to begin with, I think the $5 trillion was a benchmark that was set by the government of India towards a certain goal so that the economy progresses towards a certain direction. And it is, the number is important, but it's not as important as the path towards that kind of a resilient economy. So it was more of a goal that was set so that the economy grows towards a certain goal. And we've had unprecedented challenges like the other panelists have just spoken about, and we all are aware about the COVID that struck the whole globe. But the way our country has bounced back with all the kind of the balanced economic, balanced handling by the RBI of the macroeconomic indicators, I think we've done a remarkable job in terms of bouncing back from minus 7.3 in 2020 to projected 9.5 in 2021, and World Bank projects at 8.5 in 22, and then thereafter at about 6 and above on a very moderate estimate, which is one of the best in the world, where the world average is just 3% in terms of, this is the real GDP growth rate percentage figures. So I think we're doing a remarkable job on all fronts, like just like you mentioned, Lal Goelji, in detail about the various programs of the government. You described it very well. You pictured a house, and from a house, the electricity, and then the gas connection and all the surrounding infrastructure. So that is the way this government also has been actually formulating various programs, looking at the basic needs of a particular citizen, right from the poor to the highest echelons of the economic, value chain. So we've taken care of all segments of the population, I would say. And if you look at our growth, in the earlier era of 2009 to 14, we had very high growth rates, but that was riding on very high monetary easing policies and high inflation and high fiscal deficit, etc. But post 2014, we have had very realistic growth achieved, taking into account various macroeconomic indicators and playing a very well-balanced game, taking into account all the indicators of fiscal deficit and all of that, and then going at a very steady growth path. And at the same time, when you look at the 5 trillion, like Pradeep ji had just mentioned about the breakup, it was 1 trillion for agriculture, 1 trillion for manufacturing, and 3 trillion projected to come from the services sector. So this was the broad projection that was estimated by a panel that was set up for framing this $5 trillion figure, the benchmark, economic benchmark. So in terms of agriculture, we have done all the necessary reforms, and we've also pumped in a lot of money into the farmers' hands. So that was a big step to actually do direct benefit transfer to the farmers' accounts directly. And we've seen the growth in agriculture like never before. Agriculture has contributed so much more to the GDP than ever before. And our farmers are also doing very well on the ground. And agriculture was the pillar that supported us during the COVID time, as we all know. And then when you look at the manufacturing, also a slew of reforms that have been undertaken in the MSME sector, as well as in the labor ministry. We've had a lot of reforms, like in terms of improving the ease of doing business by amalgamating so many codes, so many acts into just 4 codes, which enhances the ease of setting up and ease of doing business for many industries. And also, a very proactive labor-oriented rules and laws coming into place by the Labor Ministry. So that was for the manufacturing sector, and also in terms of Industry 4.0 and all of the new age industrial technologies. The MSMEs are being introduced to all this by various state-of-the-art training that is being given to MSMEs, going towards Industry 4.0 scenario. And in terms of service sector also, we had a slump during COVID, in terms of the tourism and all of those sectors. But knowledge economy has been doing very well even during COVID. We've all seen work from home going on, and all our software industry players have been contributing steadily towards the economy even during the pandemic times. So service sector is seeing an enormous growth now, especially post-COVID, where the demand is spurted up. Pent-up demand has come into play again. So with all this, happening on all fronts, one is on the reform front, then the other on the actual programs that are being rolled out at the ground level for all the basic amenities, which is also pumping in a lot of liquidity into the market, a lot of expenditure in terms of capex, which is going to be seen now in the country. There was a lull during pandemic because construction, etc., could not take place during the pandemic. But post-pandemic, now we're going to see a huge recovery in construction, especially with the huge pumping of money in the infrastructure sector. And in the health sector, there's a huge pumping of money by the government in the infrastructure and in the health sector. And of course, the NIP and the asset monetization and the disinvestment is going to actually throw in a lot of liquidity into the market. So public expenditure is going to be very high. And at the same time, we've also seen a huge improvement in collection of GST taxes, and it's almost more than 1 lakh crore every month. So that way the GST collections are also improving. And we've also seen a lot of transfer to the states also happening. The complaint about the states not getting their share has also been resolved with the recent announcement of state share going on from the center. And apart from that, of course, we've had certain concerns regarding crude oil prices and the inflation on account of that, the food inflation, etc., which is also being taken care of by the center cutting down excise, and subsequently many states also cutting down their VAT. So we'll slowly get into a GST regime, hopefully with the fuel prices, and then we'll come under a control regime for the fuel, rising fuel prices. And of course, the proactive policies of the government towards renewable energy and electric vehicles, etc., are all very, very reform-oriented and pro-growth-oriented policies of the government. So that's as far as the government is concerned. But at the same time, we need to actually encourage private investments. So traditionally, even pre-pandemic, private investment has been very less compared to the amount that the public, or the government of India is investing towards infrastructure development in the country. So we need to invite more of private sector investment, which also the government is trying to do, inviting a lot of investments, FDI, as well as private sector investments in infrastructure. So we need to make our PPP models more robust, I think, so that the private sector is encouraged to come and invest. And I think disinvestment and asset monetization is a good step in this direction. So overall, I think it's looking very optimistic. But in terms of actual numbers, there will be a lot of growth forecasts and projections and etc. So maybe we may slip it here and slip out in terms of the year, maybe 1 year ahead, or 1 year, or 2 years ahead of after the scheduled timeline of 25. But the more important factor is to look at the kind of growth trajectory that we are going on with that benchmark in mind of 5 trillion. Thank you, Goelji.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. And she is of the view that forget about the year, but one must see the benchmark which has been set, how the progress is going on, how the government is giving the benchmark, and all the sectors are growing accordingly. She says that it may, even she has taken the 1 year extra, means she says may go up to 2 years beyond the 2025, means up to 27. But she says that is not the thing. The thing is how in all sectors the growth is been seen. She has also mentioned that before 2014, although the GDP was quite high, but it was not on the basics or the actuals which has been seen after the 2014, where of the physical deficit and everything was taken care. So she is of very, very positive view. She says that whatsoever is happening in the country, it is very, very positive, and all the positive directions. She says, she also insisted that now the PPP model is required because more and more private investment is required. So the thrust of the government is to invite more private parties to come and participate. And she says that's why the monetization of the assets are quite advantageful in that field. And she has given all other data and the figures, and according to her, the 5 trillion economy is achievable, and it is going to achieve 1 or 2 years here and there. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. Now, I have to act as a devil's advocate, because otherwise, if we all will be talking in the same line, then the fruitfulness of our discussion will not be there. So now my first question goes to Mr. Ramnath Pradeep. Mr. Ramnath Pradeep, as the figure was given by Ms. Vinita Hariharan, and I think you or Dr. Narendra, about that 1 trillion economy is based on the agriculture. Now, we have seen recently, last week, how the Farms Acts, 3 Farms Acts have been taken back. Now, where one side the government was pushing, they says that because of this Farms Act, the agriculture growth will very, very rapid, and definitely even in one the report says that Prime Minister Modi wants that the farmer should not be only the producer, he has to become the exporter. So that everything what has been visionized at one time is crumbled. So now there is no such type of growth which was anticipated when this 5 trillion thing was given. Now, my question to you is, don't you think it will impact and it will be like a break in this 5 trillion economy achievement, this Farms Act? Because although you said it may come by other way, but very unlikely, because the way the farmers are behaving, the way the opposition is behaving, it is not easy to bring anything now shortly. It may take 3, 4, or 5 years, or after 2024, if Mr. Modi will come back in the government, then they may try to do it. But it is unlikely that up to 24 they will like to come. So this drawback, which is almost 1/5 of the projected, that is 1 trillion. What are your views about that?
Goelji, there are 2 sides of it. One is the political side. So I would not like to comment on the political side of what is going to be impact, how the opposition and other people are going to take it. But I am still of the view that our agriculture sector will continue to perform well, because what is the push required in terms of not only the laws, in terms of the actual support being given, in terms of support price which is being talked about. It probably it may come, maybe that is the next agenda, and this will become a reality part. But so far the production side is concerned, in terms of various the cereals, various other fruit and vegetable, we are growing, and there is no stoppage. See, during the agitation for the last one year, which has farmers has taken, but they not stop the production side. They have not stopped cultivating their fields. They continue to do. So they continue to do, and they will continue to perform. The agriculture is going to be continue to perform. Probably it may be little setback in terms of what the government has projected and what the other people, but agriculture going to be a benchmark, and I'm very sure 1 trillion contribution which has to come from the agriculture side in terms of various products and being produced by the agriculturist farmers will continue to be there. So with this withdrawal of these 3 laws, because that would have also taken some more time to come if it was implemented, but but what is happening today, the farmer has also understood, agriculturists has also understood, and therefore they are adopting new technology. They are adopting also, the export also is being encouraged. So those are 2 factors. So the contribution from the agriculture will continue to be there. There is no setback. According to me, there will be no setback on account of withdrawal of these law, and agriculture will continue to perform, because you have seen that during the pandemic period, it is agriculture, the produce which has supported the India's food grains, and people have not been, nobody has died on account of non-availability of the food grains. So as of today, and India has enough buffer in terms of feeding the entire nation. So to that extent, there is enough support being available. The government is also supporting such type of activities. There are some technical issues which may come, which may have little setback, but the contribution to the economy as of today, 4% is the total contribution to the economy as of today, agriculture, that will continue to be there. So I am very firm of the view that the agriculture sector will continue to perform. There will be no setback in spite of the reform being taken back, but it will again come back in some form or other, not to have any setback for the agriculture sector.
You have mentioned that it will not setback, but now about the MSP, which is be the next demand of the farmers and which they are bent upon. Do you think if the government will yield on this for this MSP, it will affect economically?
So see, the question is, who is going to be impacted by this? The farmer is asking that I should be paid my remunerative price, which that is what they are asking, that what is my input cost, I must get some benefit. That is where the MSP can be fixed. Government is going to talk on this issue with the farmer, and some via media will be found. And what would be the via media, because I am not in that particular area, so I can't predict what is going to be the formula. Those are agriculture experts who are there to predict.
But my question is whether it will impact. Suppose they
will not impact, not much, maybe.
But the
percentage may not impact much.
But Mr. Pradeep, one of the member of the Supreme Court panel, appointed panel committee, he says it will impact because so much buffer stock which government has to bound to take on MSP, it will be blocking the money, as well as it will be harming the government's
ultimately
revenue.
What is the MSP? Who will buy this? You fix the MSP, the production side is not going to stop. The agriculture farmer is not going to stop the production in terms of growing the farming, whether it is a paddy, whether it is a cereal, whether any type of the food grain which is being produced, it is not going to be stopping, because farmer will not stop. Ultimately, it has to come to the public. It has to be sold. Now, what rate it will be sold, their demand is that I am presently at that particular time, the government is also making some sort of efforts, like cold storage chain is being established. There are many things which are, logistics system is being improved. A lot of things are happening. Those are ultimately going to benefit the farmer. Now, it should be, formalized in particular sector. That may take maybe another, that is the next step which is going to take place. But I am of the firm view that it is not going to impact the total overall agriculture contribution in total GDP.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep, for giving your views. Mr. Ramnath Pradeep. Now I will go to Dr. Narendra. Dr. Narendra, you have mentioned about the unemployment. You have said that the employment is also gone down in India. I will just give you the figure. India's jobless rate rose as unemployment surged in the nation's rural areas, even as non-farm jobs notch up gains with the economic emerging from pandemic curves. Rural unemployment jumped to 7.91% from 6.06% the previous month. This report is of 1st November 2021. Whereas urban jobless dropped to 7.38% from 8.62, the data showed. So there is a divide that rural more unemployment and the urban, yes, definitely there is an improvement. Now, don't you think this is too high, still too high, the unemployment, and it is going to be a hamper for our 5 trillion economy? What you say about this, Mr. Narendra? Dr.
Yes, sir. Goel साहब, actually आपने पहले what question रामनाथ प्रदीप को दिया था, that has also relevance to this. In agriculture, one is the direct agriculture, second is indirect agriculture. That is all the other allied services like fishing or poultry farming or dairy farming or sheep rearing, and also in relation to other residual services to the agriculture, that has to be promoted. Similarly, the government of India under Prime Minister has a scheme to promote rural arts, rural crafts, rural employment, not only the Narega, some other traditional or maybe tribal area and other things, even stitching saris or garments, all that, whatever rural industry which can get branding of India branding and it can be exported. So that is another area. Then you have to also ensure food processing, that mega food park should come in the rural areas, and that will give floor mills. Then there will be like ITC or Amul Dairy, such big people will be putting factory in the mega food park. So this mega food park is again, government has said that around 9 to 10 mega food park will be again set up in the current next year. And similarly, the food processing industry, that as he rightly said, the cold storage, we have to actually, what has happened is when the farm bills were announced, the parallelly it needed to have more and more warehouses in a nook and corner of the country. And the APMC, whatever is providing services, beyond that, there must be private and other PPP arrangement warehouses, so that the product could be stored and sold at the appropriate time when the remunerative price will be available. So if you are mentioning a transparency in getting a fair price for the farmers, other than the government giving the MSP, then naturally that farmer will opt for other market related remunerative price, and he may not avail MSP. And it is a fact that the MSP as per se, even though government announced various schemes, these are the money, the utilization has been less. So if in the ecosystem of agriculture, which I mentioned to you earlier also, that itself has got an opportunity to provide non-farm jobs also. So if you are able to generate the whole ecosystem through PPP arrangement, public-private partnership in agriculture and allied activities, in food processing, export-oriented activities in the rural area. One more, Madam Vinita can also look at that. Micro and small enterprises will have to be established in the rural and semi-urban areas, and the corporates should be given. Now you have given tax concession, everything. And if the corporate, which I think last time also mentioned, if the corporate don't sponsor micro and small enterprises and promote them, because they are getting almost all their raw material or the other supply of materials from this micro and what you call medium industries, micro and small and medium industries. Now they have to be encouraged to put investment equity, and that will also give a lot of employment. See, now during the COVID, MSME have been affected, and if they invest equity, you can give some tax exemption to them. That even that would be enable them. Like PLI you are doing, and where you are giving 1,95,000 crores for the same multinational industry. If they invest in the MSME, giving some tax benefit is worthwhile. See, instead of putting them in a debt, MSME, you go on giving guarantee and debt. You should give equity. And the rural migrant laborers who have come to the urban area, they have gone to rural area, they should be promoted to do some micro and small industries. And let the 5, 10, like, what startup system has, ecosystem has developed in India, in the urban areas and metropolitan area. Why not can be in agro-based itself, there can be startups, and there can be e-commerce, there can be supply chain management. So if we do this as a focus area, when we know that the demand for all our products come rural area, and all the corporate take advantage of the rural demand. But if you don't invest money in the rural area and only expect government to spend only on the NREGA, that would not suffice. NREGA is a temporary arrangement to provide some assets prepared there. But we must look at rural development, rural employment, rural engagement of the people, and that ecosystem, like what you said, mega cities, or the what you call smart cities, all urban area. Why not you look at development of the rural cities and rural creation of infrastructure, like including the panchayat level or the ward level, everywhere. You create a good water supply, good health system, and which is there in the scheme, but that needs to be properly executed. And if that is done, Sir Goel Saab, the rural employment will also be coming, means unemployment will coming down. And as I found that the one particular data here says that the productive and resilient cities itself can give around 195 US billion. The sharing economy for jobs, skills, and education can give 175 US billion. Then modern retail and e-commerce can give 125 US billion. Climate change and mitigation and adaptation models, another 90 billion US billion. And digital commerce services, 55. Total 635 US billion can arise from these areas of rural, focusing rural qualified people, like skill development. Let it be properly executed skill development, looking at the area of specific requirements, and let them get good, what you call self-employment, and let them produce some goods, and let the government make marketing arrangement for them. Let the corporate also take from them. See, instead of always we say there is a rural unemployment, but I think there is a need for the government to refocus the policy to the rural development, and also put the corporate on the job. Not as we don't want social, what you call corporate social responsibility. They have to spend it as an economic activity and provide employment. And if that is done, I'm sure, and even technology can be used. And even in that ecosystem, there is an opportunity for job. So your question is that this, and one more thing is, like Goel Saab, 67% of the population, they are enjoying the maximum wealth of our India. Hardly, in the sense that 10% of the wealth people, what you call wealthy people, have the 60% of the 67% of the GDP, whereas a lot of people are still below the poverty line, and even today around 23 to 30% is the poverty line. Now that we can all enjoy this 5 trillion economy or 10 trillion economy if there is equity in growth, and if there is a inclusive growth, and we ensure proper employment and proper productivity and proper what you call living, respectable live by all the rural and the urban, semi-urban people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narendra. And you rightly said that the corporate should come forward, but the corporate will come forward for the rural. Two things. First thing is that they require proper infrastructure, and secondly, if they are getting some profit, definitely they would like to go. They are not interested to do the social service, because they are already been bound in India for the CSR, so that they are doing it, whether likely or they're willingly or unwillingly, but they have to do, because it's a law. But otherwise, as far as the rural, it will only develop when the corporates are getting, like initially we used to have lots of schemes that if you invest in such backward areas, it's a tax-free for 10 years and whatnot. I'm sure some such type of things, incentives to be given to the corporates, so they can come forward and invest those. As you mentioned, the rural area is very much important. Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra. Now my question goes to Ms. Vinita. Yes, we are talking everything very nice today. But what we are seeing in Europe, what we are seeing in Australia, Austria is totally closed. Australia is going to close. China is suffering. Russia is suffering. The third or fourth or fifth wave they are facing. India is on the door. Knocking is there because no one is wearing mask. No one means majority of people are not wearing mask. No social distancing. And even although we are claiming that we have reached 217 or crores or so vaccine, but long way to go. How many second dose? So, and forget about the booster. So when this is the situation, don't you think we are sitting on it's a volcano situation today? Tomorrow, God forbids, if the third wave struck India, don't you think this, what we are talking today, will again become stand still, or the growth will go down or something like that, unless we will curtail this third wave at this stage only? What you say about this, Ms. Vinita?
Yes, definitely. I think, but then we've really, like you said, the vaccination drive has been very strong and we've crossed that mark. And I think we have also, we can be optimistic that we've got herd immunity by now. And most of our cities and rural areas have attained a certain level of herd immunity. And these countries that you mentioned, I think they're also, their immunity, systems are not as strong as ours, and we are like rough and tough, people. So India has always been strong in terms of, braving all challenges in terms of, health challenges, as well as our immunity levels are also high, like you've seen in the slums. It is quite interesting to note that in slums actually COVID did not break out as much as it broke out in very protected urban apartments. So that is something that we need to reflect upon, and I think our health department is also working proactively, and we've seen how efficient they've been during with certain, of course, anomalies where the second wave struck very strongly, across the country and across the globe. We were taken by storm. With a small, kind of an anomaly in our preparatory phase, the rest of it, we've been very robust in tackling this COVID challenge. And I think we're also proactively moving toward booster doses, and we have not let our guard down as far as COVID is concerned. So I think we need not worry too much about the third wave, as per predictions of the health experts as well. And apart from that, just to respond to Narendraji's remark about the rural employment, of course, we are, very never before has the government been so strong towards improving rural economy and rural infrastructure, and so many programs towards agricultural reforms and rural robust rural development. Like you have the NRLM, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, which has been on for many years, which works on actually promoting self-help groups and giving employment to rural women. And states like Odisha, etc., have achieved saturation in NRLM, which is called SRLM, Odisha OSRLM, which is Odisha State Rural Livelihood Mission. So many such states have achieved saturation in their rural livelihood mission, and so this may not directly reflect in the formal employment figures that you quote, because we are moving towards an enterprise economy, like our government's philosophy has been to move towards an enterprise economy. So I think that's the direction which the government is moving. And there are a lot of programs towards rural employment. Even the PMEGP, Narendraji, which you got an award for, also has a lot of thrust on improving livelihoods in the rural sector. So I think we are doing well in that front. And as far as private sector investment in rural is concerned, I think traditionally they've been very interested in rural markets. All consumer FMCGs have been targeting rural markets as the bottom of the pyramid, and they see a huge market over there. From a long time, they've been investing in those markets. So I think we are going in the right direction. But yes, we have to really focus on the last mile implementation of all these programs, going beyond banks. Like I've always said, banks have very restricted capacity to achieve outreach to all concerned. Therefore, we have to look at out-of-the-box solutions to reach the last mile through cooperative banks and through other credit measurement methods, which so that we can reach more population. And like Narendra ji said, instead of debt, we should look at equity, and subsidies, I think, can be considered a form of that kind of an equity by the government. So I think we are also giving subsidies to a large extent. And the micro enterprise, there is a new program which the Food Processing Ministry is running called the Formalization of Micro Enterprises, where there's a 10,000 crore budget for the program, in which micro enterprises, women-led micro enterprises, are being encouraged in the food processing sector. So I think this is what I mean.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Vinita. My only worry is because now the government has opened the borders. Earlier it was closed. So now it's a free movement. Although there was a RT-PCR test is compulsory, but still we have to see, because this crucial time is another 1 month. And as mentioned, that the festival time is still up to the Christmas. So let's see if we should not go for the third wave, and we must be vaccinated. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Now my question goes to Mr. Ramnath Pradeep. Mr. Ramnath Pradeep, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Please switch on your, please on your video. Yeah. Mr. Pradeep, you might have read that recently the government has released 5 million barrel oil from the reserves. US has released 50 million barrels from the reserves. China is releasing, and other few countries are releasing. But OPEC has released now the statement that if these countries are releasing as an emergency measure to curb the crude prices, to put them in control, they are going to not revise the rates, which not the rate, sorry, they revise the production, which they are revising. They are increasing the production. They have made very clearly, although they are going to meet on 2nd of December, they says we are not going to increase that. Rather, they may consider to decrease the production so that the crude price may go up in response to what the US and India and China and other few countries are doing. Don't you think it will impact again on the Indian economy, and that then this 5 trillion will be a bit away? What do you say about this?
I fully agree, but what is the contribution of oil sector in the total economy? As of today, there is, sorry, because of some disturbance.
About
hello?
82, yeah,
Yes, are you able to hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. Tell me. Go ahead. Go ahead. Mr. Pradeep, are you there? No.
I think there is some disturbance in the network.
Okay, no problem. We will come to you once your network is okay. Now my question goes to Dr. Narendra.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are there, Mr. Pradeep, or shall I move to Dr. Narendra?
I think there is some problem.
Okay, I will go to, I would, no problem.
Connect.
I will go to Dr. Narendra with the same question which I asked from Mr. Ramnath.
You can move to Dr.
I'm going. Yeah,
yes,
please.
yes,
So, Dr. Narendra, don't you think this move of the government of India and a counter move recently, as I think that yesterday evening or the late night, that OPEC plus country says that we are going to reduce the production. We will see to it that the crude price may go up. It will be a counterproductive for India for releasing those 5 million barrels of crude oil from the reserve oil, which the country is having. What you say about this? And it will impact our economic growth of what we are doing now. What you say about this, Dr. Narendra?
Sir, one thing is this time, India's exports are doing exceedingly well. And it is actually up to this latest month also, that I think we would have crossed already maybe 250 billion US dollars of exports. Now, other side, as I have earlier mentioned, oil and gold. These are the major two constituents of the imports. Other than whatever we are importing as a raw material for our production, they are welcome, because those, including gem and jewelry, we import in raw form and make again jewelry and export. Gold also, we utilize that also. Only consumption related gold is not going to contribute. Now, oil, that is that our private mining of the what you call oil, other than the ONGC and some other players, even though that efforts have been made quite a long time, we have not been able to add much capacity. So this effort, so long as because we have seen $140 US per barrel also. And that was the time when the India's oil import went up very high. And again, we had become current account up to, I think, 4% we had the deficit. And we had immediately that period, the Reserve Bank had to again do one program of raising 35 billion US dollars under the what you call foreign deposit scheme. And that came handy. Otherwise, we were about to that 2013 tapering of the India world, where they reversed all their loose policy from 2008, which was there. 13, India caught on that, and we had a similar pattern as in 1991, which was again an oil crisis. So now, whether that type of situation will come now, we know, because the fact that we are much well in foreign exchange, and as I mentioned, 640 more plus US dollar billion US dollars, which can cater 14 to 18 months of imports. So on the external front, and we are not a much borrowed country. Externally, our external debt is very low, other than corporate and all. India per se country has not borrowed. Our major borrowing is post domestic. So on that count, no. Second is, what would be the inflation impact? So oil price increase will have an inflation impact. Now, suppose we were able to cover other factors of inflation like food inflation, which is common man's requirement, or if we are able to other commodity prices. Now, international commodity prices also have gone up. On that count, again, inflation has been slightly higher. If that comes down, and only the oil price slightly, now still the OEPC don't want to reduce because they have to cover their lost ground during the COVID period. So all that, which when the oil price came to 25 US dollar per barrel, from there they have gone up to this. So we have not reached the peak, but it is expected that it can go up to 110 US dollar per barrel. And if that is the case, currently Indian such a hard and foreign exchange reserves will go towards that borrowing, because we have not developed the alternative energy we have developed, and we are also what you call the nuclear power and other solar power, wind power, and biogas power, and as per the climate change, we are definitely increasing that, and that cost has come down substantially, power cost.
Okay.
So long as we are on the right path, in the temporary hiccup of this particular oil price going, India had made up all the contingency planning to see that we or face that, and we don't pass on much difficulty as per the Indian economy.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Dr. Narendra. My question goes to Ms. Vinita. The same question, OPEC. Now, the two situations are coming. One is that the government is releasing the reserves, no problems. Second situation is OPEC plus countries are increasing the crude price by decreasing their production, which they have reacted very badly yesterday night only, and I'm sure on the 2nd of December meeting also. The third situation is the elections, the 5 state elections. The government has already decreased 5 and 10 rupees, and it is very likely to decrease further because of the elections winnability in those states. Because we have seen in Himachal Pradesh, where the farmers' agitation was not an impact, it was only the price rise. Don't you think if the government will again decrease the prices of petroleum product, and here the prices, the crude prices are going up, it will definitely impact, as Dr. Narendra has mentioned earlier, that we have to increase the tax collection from 10 to 15%. One side, we are decreasing the tax on the petroleum product. What will be the impact for the 5 trillion economy? Ms. Vinita, please.
Yeah, so I think OPEC controlling the crude oil prices has been a traditional game that they have been playing. It's a cartel, and they definitely would not reduce the prices below a certain level, even if there is an increase in demand. So that has been going traditionally. But if you look at the breakup of petrol prices, the fuel prices, 50% is on taxes and just 50% is on the origination cost and crude oil plus commission charges. So the government has done the right step because we were not reaching a consensus on GST. So it was a stalemate. So something had to be done because it was spiraling high. Therefore, the central government took out the olive branch and reduced the excise duty symbolically at least. And states followed suit with reducing the VAT. But I think there's a lot more to go in terms of the tax, because 50% of the cost is on taxes. So therefore, the sustainable solution to this in terms of the price per se is to bring it under the GST net. Which is going to be the technical objective long-term solution to bringing the petrol uniform across the country, petrol and diesel, once it comes under the GST. That's one solution. The second is, of course, increasing our own production of crude oil, which it's, I think, a high time we need to increase our domestic production capacities. And so therefore, disinvestment of oil companies and bringing in expert technologies from other foreign companies would do a lot good in improving our own domestic production capacities. And the third, of course, are proactive measures to go towards renewable and electric vehicles. I think that is again a long-term solution, but at the same time, it's going to benefit a lot in terms of bringing this whole thing under an optimal solution.
See, Ms. Vinita, things are very nice as you had mentioned, but the problem which is facing is which states that they are opposing GST. No one is disclosing the names of those states. Until unless that will not come to the public, how the public knows? And I have done a program on GST. I asked the same question to all my panelists. Can you name, or is there anyone has named? Because we have seen Mr. Gadkari on the record on one of the summit he has attended on a TV channel, and he says, please don't bring me in this controversy. Because if the government, central government is saying very clearly that states are not interested, give the names, because the election, the public have power for voting and voting out. If the Congress state ruled government are not they are opposing, please give the names, then let the government will vote. But if the BJP state governments are opposing, and one side the central government, which is again ruled by the BJP, if they are saying no, we want to bring it BJP, this, then it is something double standard, which public wants to know, but it is not coming to the fore. Anyway, thank you very much. So viewers, you have seen today, all our experts are of view that India is on a correct path. India is moving on a very, very robust economy. The way it has rebounded, it is remarkable, which has not happened in anywhere in the world. And no one, even other countries, other experts, all financial experts were expecting that India will be a failure condition after the post-COVID. But the way the country has rebounded and the way the country is going ahead, all are of the view that not in 2024, although Mr. Pradeep is quite optimistic, and he says by 24-25, definitely it will be there. But other viewers, other experts says 25 or 26 or even 27. But it is on the right way, right path that the country is progressing. And for that, we all, the civil society, also have to play a very, very crucial role. And that is, as you have heard today, everyone is emphasizing for the alternate energy. At least till the time we are not having those things, at least we can save the energy which we are consuming every day by less using the petrol, vehicle cars or the diesel vehicle cars, or even saving the electricity at our home. I think that contribution as a civil society, we must also do. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Saroka News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor to bring to you every day new topic. And tomorrow is an important day because tomorrow is the International Day for Violence Against Women. So tomorrow our topic is in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Violence Against Women in India. And our panelists are Dr. Rajiv Anand, Senior Psychiatrist and Marriage Counselor, Mumbai; Dr. Shefali Tiwari, Director, Principal, Canary International School, Pune; Ms. Shilpi Singh, Director, DLC, Mumbai; Dr. Rashi Gupta, Faculty of Law, Guest, University of Delhi and Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Management and Research, Delhi. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramnath Pradeep. Thank you very much, Dr. M. Narendra. And thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving very, very enlightening expert views. And that is why I am sure that today's conference is so enlightening, especially for the viewers who are watching it, those who have interest in economy or the financial things, or even not. They have to be reassured that the country is moving in a correct direction. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.
Our thanks to you also, sir.
Thank you.
And
you.
all